Hello everybody and welcome to the Import-Export Hub channel. Bogdan here, your host for the next couple of minutes. I hope that you are all doing great, and guys, without further ado, as the title suggested, in this video I'm going to cover the trade data for hazelnuts. I'll show you the biggest exporters and importers for both shelled and in-shell hazelnuts. Afterwards I'll cover just a little bit, don't worry, the biggest export destinations for the United States, Republic of Georgia, Italy, and Turkey. And at the end of the video, I will show you two charts that I've plotted with data coming from FAOSTAT in order to show you who are the main growers and exporters in terms of area harvested, production, and yield. So without anything else to add here in this short introduction, let's dive into the boring Excel sheets here. And I will begin with the exports of in-shell hazelnuts. And as you can see from the numbers here, 2021, if you ask me, was a relatively good year with overall exports amounting to some $197.5 million, with the United States, Republic of Georgia, and Spain dominating the exports. But there are other important exporters like, I don't know, Turkey, Azerbaijan, or Italy here, just to name a couple of them from this top 10 list. The United States clearly dominates, dwarfing the other exporters with its $115 million. Republic of Georgia, it's on a nice upward trend, still room to grow if you ask me. Unfortunately, here they lack the infrastructure and capabilities of Turkey or the United States, but I'm sure that things are going to get better in the following years for Georgia. Anyhow, here relative to the year-on-year changes, we have almost 29% growth, which in absolute terms translates to some $44 million more exports. And except Italy and Romania, who both saw their exports contracted, the rest of the top 10 exporters had positive changes. The biggest one, considering here the absolute value happening in relation with the United States, who exported with almost $33.5 million more in 2021 than the previous year. And now, guys, with the in-shell hazelnut exports being covered, I will move to the import flow, where Canada, Italy, and China are the biggest importers, followed by countries like Germany, Spain, or Thailand, just to name a couple of them. And relative to the year-on-year changes, we have some 15% more imports in relative terms, so almost $19 million in absolute ones, with Italy having the biggest positive change of almost $16 million, while on the other side of the spectrum, if you want, Hong Kong had the biggest absolute negative change with almost $6 million fewer imports in 2021. I've highlighted here the imports for China in 2019, as it had a huge spike if you ask me, and I don't know why this happened. It just triggered my attention, and I was expecting to see some shelling activities in 2019 or 2020, which supposedly were then exported. But from what I saw, nothing like this happened, and I'm really curious to know what could explain this huge spike. And if someone working in this area is watching this video, please reach me and give me an explanation. Anyhow, moving on to the shelled hazelnuts exports, guys. Here the figures are much bigger, some 10 times bigger, and we see how Turkey, which is the largest hazelnut grower, it's basically adding value locally, keeping money in Turkey. Okay, in the entire value chain, shelling and I don't know, vacuuming the hazelnuts or maybe some marketing activities, it's not adding too much value. But if you ask me, this is how things should work if you want to control as much as you can from the value chain. So, as I was saying, Turkey here dwarfs the rest of the exporters with its $1.3 billion. It's followed by Italy with some $350 million, while Chile sits on the third spot with some $154 million. Other big exporters are Azerbaijan or the Republic of Georgia, which up until now, these countries are also growers, while Germany or the Netherlands are in this top 10 list just because they are involved in the trading activities. And the same goes for the Czech Republic. Now, relative to the year-on-year changes, overall the exports were up 17%, which in absolute value translates into $324 million, which is a big figure if you ask me, mostly driven by the strong performances of Italy and Turkey here, who combined exported with some $300 million more. The United States had some shelling activities also. I think that some of the processors in the United States decided to take matters into their own hands and do the shelling activities there. And basically in 2021, the United States had some $13.2 million more exports than it did in 2020. And I think that this is just the beginning. While on the other side of the spectrum, the biggest contraction, considering this top 10 list, happened in relation with the Czech Republic, who exported with almost $5.3 million less. And now, guys, moving to the import flow for shelled hazelnuts. Here, if you want, we have similar figures as we had on the export flow with Germany, Italy, and France dominating the imports with some $1 billion cumulatively, followed by the Russian Federation. We have Canada, Poland, Switzerland, and the last three countries in this top 10 list are Brazil, the Netherlands, and Spain, almost all with figures above the $40 million mark. Relative to the year-on-year change, 2021 saw a 2.6% overall increase in relative terms, which in absolute ones translates into almost $51 million, with Germany here, Poland, and Brazil contributing a lot for this positive change. Italy, on the other hand, which is the second biggest importer of shelled hazelnuts, had a 15% contraction in 2021, quite a lot if you ask me, which in absolute terms translates to almost $71 million. And now, guys, with both flows being covered, I'll move to the exports for the United States, Republic of Georgia, Turkey, and Italy. I will begin with the US, and basically, we see here that the United States, it's a net exporter with almost $150 million positive trade balance. The US exports are quite concentrated, as you can see, almost 90% of them being directed towards two countries, so China and Canada. In the 2017-2021 timeframe, the exports grew with some 9% each year in terms of value, and for 2021, the US exported some 25,000 tons, the majority of them being directed towards China, which I think is somewhere in the range of 60 to 70% from the total exported quantity. And lastly, guys, in terms of the average tariff faced by the US for its shelled hazelnuts exports, the biggest tariff is in China with 25%. Then we have Egypt with 20%, and the third largest one from this list is Thailand with 10%. And now, guys, with the US exports being covered, I will move to the Republic of Georgia exports. Here, unfortunately, the figures are much smaller, only $20.5 million. The Republic of Georgia is also a net exporter with some $20.1 million positive trade balance in 2021. And we see here also that Georgia's exports are pretty concentrated as well. And we have Italy with 73.5% and China with 11.2%. Relative to the exported quantity, we have almost 7,500 tons, with Italy, the Russian Federation, and Latvia having the biggest growth in exported value between 2017 and 2021, all above the 100% mark. Sadly, I don't have the tariffs faced by the Republic of Georgia, but I will venture a guess here. And for Italy, I'm 99% sure that there is zero tariff because of the most favored nation clause in relation with the European Union. For China, my guess is that the tariffs faced by the Georgian hazelnuts are smaller than those from the United States. While for Russia, the third largest destination, most probably we have close to zero tariffs. And guys, with this being covered, I'll move to the biggest grower and exporter of hazelnuts in the world, so Turkey. And here we have data for shelled hazelnuts, and the figures are huge, almost $1.3 billion worth of exports for 2021. With Italy, Germany, and France as the main destinations. But of course, we have other important ones like, I don't know, Poland, Switzerland, Egypt, or China. Again, just to name a couple of them. Relative to the trade balance, the figures is almost similar with the exported value, and we have what, $13-14 million difference, which is insignificant if you ask me. While in terms of the exported quantity, we have some 200,000 tons of exports with Germany, Egypt, and Brazil, the only countries in this top 10 list who had at least 10% growth in the 2017-2021 time frame. While on the other hand, the exports towards Switzerland here and Canada also shrunk with 2 and 16% respectively each year. And lastly, in terms of average tariff, the EU countries have 3%. With Switzerland, Egypt, or Canada, we have 0% tariff, while in China, the tariff is just in the brackets 10%. And I say just 10% because if you remember, the United States in shell hazelnuts faced 25% tariffs in China, even though the US exports were in shell ones, which in theory should have a smaller tariff. So for example, if the United States exports of in-shell hazelnuts face a 25% tariff in China, for shelled hazelnuts, again in China, the tariff should in theory be slightly higher, around 27-28%. Anyways, it seems that the Turkish exporters know their interests and they, of course, try to protect them as much as they can. For sure, there are some geopolitical implications here, but anyhow, that's another topic of this video. And now, guys, I'll move to the FAOSTAT charts, and I have one more country to cover, which is Italy. And here we have some $350 million worth of exports for 2021, with almost $39 million negative trade balance, with all top trading partners being European countries. So 0% tariff, as you can see in the column here, with Germany, Poland, the United Kingdom, and France having almost 90% share in Italy's total exports. And now, guys, moving to the much awaited FAOSTAT charts. Well, here, as I've told you earlier, I've plotted the largest growers considering 3 variables, and we have the area harvested in hectares, production in tons, and lastly yield in kilograms per hectare. And here the green line is basically the average yield per hectare, of course considering only the mentioned countries. So basically, looking at this chart, we see how Turkey, with its 734,000 hectares, is dominating the world production, but unfortunately it lacks at yield. as it's somewhere 30% below the average yield. The United States, on the other hand, it's leading the way in terms of yield with some 2.6 tons per hectare. But also, if you ask me, China and Romania or even Greece are doing pretty well, all above the 2 tons per hectare yield. On the other side of the spectrum, so the least yield per hectare, we have Iran, Spain, and Croatia, all with a yield of less than 600 kilograms per hectare. And finally, guys, with the largest hazelnut growing zones being covered, I will move to my last sheet in which I've plotted a more regional list of countries, if you want, all European countries, as it seems that more and more business people recognize the potential of growing hazelnuts. So we can call these countries, if you want, the new kids on the block, with Croatia, Poland, and Serbia dominating the area harvested, almost all with figures above 5,000 hectares of harvested area. On the production side, the roles change as Poland leads the way. Serbia comes second, while Croatia is on the third spot. And maybe, just maybe, this is because the hazelnut trees are not there yet in terms of maximum yield. So most probably in Croatia, we have relatively young trees. As for yield, Romania and Greece dominate as both countries have figures above 2 tons per hectare, while Bulgaria, which geographically sits between Romania and Greece, has only 634 kilograms per hectare. But then again, maybe as in the case with Croatia, we could have here relatively young trees. And guys, with this being said, that's all for today. I really hope that I've managed to give you some useful information. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit those small buttons below this video. Please do comment if you do wish so. And as usual, until next time, keep your business safe. Thanks.